I'm back with a personal story in honor of Aquarius season. Now, I'm recording this video to break up the monotony of my night because I have a lot of work to do in between working on natal charts. So I'm like, let me just take a break up the monotony to keep me going, motivated. Because when I do a video, I'm always kind of amped afterwards. So I felt myself kind of slowing down in terms of momentum. So I'm like, let me just break up the monotony by recording a video, sharing one of my personal Aquarius stories. So here we go. This is about a boyfriend that I used to have back in the day, and he was an Aquarius. Born February, either the 1st or the 2nd. He's born on Groundhog Day. What is that? Is that the 1st or the 2nd? My dad's born on the 1st. I think he's born February 2nd, but my memory is kind of foggy. But anyway, I started dealing with him back when I was a teenager. So that was around like age, I think I was like 16. And the way it started was like we were always cool because, he was from around the way. I knew him from when I was like about 12. But we really didn't hang out or whatever. He was like a couple of years older than me. But anyway, when I got to be around, I think around 16 and a half maybe, I forget how it happened. Oh, now I remember how it happened. Okay, so let me back up. And I didn't take any notes or anything, so I'm just recording this off of the top of my head. So excuse me if my memory fails me in some parts. But now I remember how it started. So it first started off where I was dating one of his good friends. And his good friend, like I was around 16 at the time. His friend had already graduated from high school. So his friend must have been around 18. And he already had a car. And I remember that was like the selling point. I was like, oh, he got a car. He could take me around the places. He could teach me how to drive. And I actually learned how to drive through him and through my father. So my father, he taught me, the main things, and he would take me around driving. But then when I would go to see homeboy, I would drive his car for practice and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. He had this old ass Chevy Citation or something like that. It was a piece of shit car. Anyway, the interesting thing about him, he was a black dude, but he was a hunter. And at a young age too. This was in Jersey. So he had like all the hunting gear, I forget his sign though. He had, and for a good reason, I'm about to let you know. So he had like all the hunting gear. He had rifles. He had, the whole hunting outfits. He had bow and arrows. He had a crossbow. He would like have pictures of himself like where he like shot a deer and all this stuff. So he wasn't your average young black dude to be a hunter at such a young age. He fished too. But the Aquarius dude that was his friend, he was rather unconventional in some ways as well. So I've always been attracted to dudes that, are kind of alternative or unconventional in some type of way or whatever like that. Now, so I was dealing with the dude. I'm going to leave these names out, to protect the innocent. But so I'm going to call the dude that I was initially dealing with, I'm going to call him Michael. So I was dealing with Michael first, and Michael would pick me up from school sometimes. Most of the time with Michael, I would go, like how it would work is, cause I was working at Little Caesars back then. So he would pick me up from Little Caesars a lot of times. I would bring them free pizza. And it was like every Friday night they would have like a card night because Michael's mom would go to Atlantic City because she had a gambling habit. And Michael picked up his gambling habit from his mother. So Michael and the Aquarius dude and his other friends, I'm going to call the Aquarius dude, let's call him Rodney. So Michael and Rodney. So they would be chilling at his house playing cards and stuff for money, mind you. And cause they were all into like gambling hard. And I would be the only chick there just chilling like on the couch watching, like back then, they had, what was that, video box and stuff. You had MTV and stuff, hip hop, rap city, all that stuff. So, I'd be just chilling, laughing and stuff with them and stuff. They'd be drinking all that stuff. And it was real cool. I was always the type of chick that loved hanging out with dudes. Cause I don't know. I've just been more partial to dudes. I do have a lot of masculine energy in my chart. But anyway, to make the long story short, so I used to deal with Michael, but Michael had a problem. Michael would be semi hard. Like when we would have sex, like his dick would never get fully hard. I don't know if you ladies and you gay men have ever experienced a man that can't get fully hard. And if any of my male listeners have this problem and you're listening, I'm sorry, but that it can be so frustrating. So yeah, he had that problem. So that's probably why I can't really remember his time. He might have either been a Leo or a Libra. But anyway, he was a cool ass dude nonetheless, so I tolerated him, and he was pretty good looking, all that. He had a decent body, all that stuff. But then one night, I don't know what brought me down to Michael's basement, but I remember I was in the basement. I don't know how I got down there. I don't know what was going on, but I was in the basement. Next thing you know, Rodney comes down, the Aquarius. And Rodney, he starts talking to me and stuff. Next thing you know, like music is on, we start dancing and stuff. Make the long story short, me and Rodney started getting it on in the basement. And in my young mind, I'm like, okay, like I'm allowing this man to take advantage of me because I really didn't want to do it, but I was very weak-willed back then. And I was rather promiscuous too. I'm in my 40s now, so there's really no shame in my game. I mean, I'm a Sagittarius. And I got Mars in Gemini, and my Venus is in the 9th house. So you want to talk about, casual sex and being rather out there in terms of, promiscuity and stuff. Yeah. So I've never really been a prude or anything like that. I've always been rather free with my sexuality. But that night, I honestly didn't want to do it to Rodney. But because I was so weak-willed, I gave in. And it was good. It was much better than what was his name? Michael. See, I can't even remember, semi-hard dude's name, Michael. But anyway, so I remember going back upstairs and telling Michael what happened. And I remember Michael just brushing it off. And I was just like, oh, okay. So it's like that. All right. So fast forward to like a year later. And I forget how we started hooking up, but me and Rodney started hooking up, but it was on the low. So like every now and then, Rodney would come by late at night and I would sneak out because I was still living with my mom, of course, and I was living with my sister. So I would sneak out and go, be with him. Sometimes we would do it in his car because he had a few cars back then. He had, I think back then he either had a Saab or he had the Honda Accord. Now I think he was driving a Saab first and he loved that Saab. Anyway, we would do it in the car. Sometimes he would sneak me upstairs to his room. We would do it in his room while his parents were asleep and his brother and sister were asleep. And then I remember this one night, we were in his backyard on a lawn chair doing it. Oh my God, looking at the stars and stuff. Oh! Okay, let me stop. Anyway, so fast forward, like I said, we used to, get it on the low, like nobody like knew and stuff. This was just our little thing as, friends with benefits type of thing. And then I forget how I found out, but one day I found out basically that Rodney, the Aquarius, wasn't just smashing me, he was also smashing my Scorpio sister. My Scorpio sister didn't know that me and Rodney were, getting it on. I didn't know that Rodney and my Scorpio sister were getting it on. So when we both found out, we were both dumbfounded and we couldn't believe it. And we were like, what the fuck? And me and my sister, we actually had a falling out over it. My sister basically claimed she hated my guts. She was like, I wish you were never born. You're not my sister. You know how Scorpios can do. And I remember saying, well, I didn't know. How you gonna fault me? And I didn't know. And I kept telling her, I was like, well, honestly, me and him, we were getting on before you and him were. Way before. I just never told you. So I think she was also mad at that too, that me and him, we had a thing going long before he started smashing her. So it got so bad that my mom had to intervene between me and my sister. And I remember that year, it must have been my 17th birthday, because I remember it happened like we found out what was going on. It was like a month before my birthday, and then my birthday rolled around, and I remember that was like the loneliest birthday ever, because my sister was mad at me, so she didn't wish me a happy birthday. My mom didn't even wish me a happy birthday. So, like, that birthday, 17, I didn't get nothing. I wasn't wished a happy birthday, nothing. It was like everybody was blaming me, even though I had no idea that this dude was smashing my sister. Okay, so fast forward, I would say, yeah, this is after I was 18. Fast forward to after I was 18, Ronnie pops back up on the scene. This is after he gets out of prison, because he spent time in prison for almost killing this dude, because him and this dude got into a fight at this nightclub, and Ronnie had Tim's on, and he stomped the shit out of this dude, put him in the hospital. Dude was in a coma. Luckily, dude made it out alive. Like, he didn't die. If he did, Rodney still might be in prison to this day for murder. But anyway, he got attempted murder or some type of assault charge or whatever. So he did like a year in jail, prison, whatever, like that. So when he came out, he hit me up. And when I saw him, of course, being in jail for that amount of time, he was all ripped, and I was like, oh my God. But first of all, let me tell you what he looked like. So he wasn't really my type, so to speak. He had this very unique look. I'll tell you what it like. He was very, very light, and he looked very much like, especially when he was younger, he looked a lot like Smokey Robinson. You know how Smokey Robinson looked back in the day? If you don't know how Smokey Robinson looked back in the day, look at the old pictures of Smokey Robinson when he was with the Miracles. That's how Rodney looked. So Rodney was very light skinned, but he had like very kinky hair. He had these blue-gray eyes. They would actually change color. He had a pretty big nose and these big lips. So he was very light skinned, but he had strong Afrocentric features, which gave him a very unique look. I'll say that. So some, girls really liked the way he looked, and some girls thought that he looked kind of funny. And I remember one day he really showed his vulnerable side to me, because he was like, do you think I'm ugly? And I remember, cause usually he was so confident, he was so, sure of himself and stuff. But one day he was like, do you think I'm ugly? And I was like, no, not at all. So yeah. But anyway, like I said, he gets out of prison, whatever. He hits me up, and we start actually dating. Like, this time we're actually in a relationship. And I know some people are like, ew, but he had sex with your sister and all that. Let me explain to you. I got Mars and Gemini, okay? And Gemini deals with siblings. So, and Mars deals with men, dudes, boys. So, a lot of times stuff like that will happen for people that got Mars and Gemini, or strong Gemini energy, period. So, right or wrong, I will tell you this. So, him and my sister, it was just a physical thing, and they had stopped dealing with each other and all that stuff. He had apologized, all that. So me and him, we start actually dating, going together. And it was like a really good brief relationship, because you know how Aquarians are very sociable and stuff. So we would go out a lot. I remember we went to Def Comedy Jam in Atlantic City one night. So yeah, we had a ball together, and the sex was so good. And again, when I talk about his body, I used to like seeing him just with his jeans on and his shirt off. He had some beautiful arms and a nice chest. And he just had this swagger and this vibe. I mean, he was just a cool ass dude, despite the fact of what he did. And I feel like the fact that he was an Aquarius, that enabled him to get away with what he did. Messing with my sister and me. And, that's just messed up. But anyway, like I said, he was a cool ass dude. What was very Aquarian about him, there was a few things that was very Aquarian about him. Number one, he walked to the beat of his own drum, definitely. But he was a straight up, like, excuse my French, he was a straight up nigga. I mean, but he did walk to the beat of his own drum. Like, he would always play dance hall music, reggae, dance hall. That's all he would listen to. Like, he liked hip hop, but in his car, he was always blasting dance hall, reggae, all of that. And, so that was unique about him. Also, what was unique is that he went to nursing school and became a nurse after he got out of jail, which was unique because, the average dude ain't really trying to be a nurse or going to nursing school. Nowadays, it's more popular, but back when he was doing it, that was, rather unique, and there was no qualms about it with him or whatever like that. I'm trying to think what else about him. Well, one thing that was similar with him and me was I grew up, in a religion where we didn't eat pork. And he grew up in a religion where he didn't eat pork. So when I remember going to his house and seeing he had the Morning Star sausages, and I was like, oh shit, you grew up on Morning Star. And I remember sometimes we would eat Morning Star. I got in really good with his family. His family loved me and all of this stuff. But then fast forward to this one night, because I knew that he was still a player and all this stuff, and I knew that he was cheating on me. Women's intuition. So I knew this one night in particular when I wanted to hang out with him that he was actually seeing this other chick. And again, this is where my Mars and Gemini comes in. And some people might look at me as kind of shameless for doing this. But again, this was back in the day. And when you're young, you do things. I wouldn't do nothing like this now, but hey. But anyway, so, I wanted him to come over, spend time with me. He was like, no, I gotta go. He made up some flimsy excuse, and I knew it was a lie, and I knew he was going to see somebody. So, for revenge, because I used to be very vengeful. Like, if I knew a dude was cheating on me, or if I knew that, he did me wrong in some type of way, I wasn't going to let him get away with it. He was going to get it. And he was going to get it good. Like, that's how I was. Like, if I was going to take revenge out of you, I would sit there and plot the most elaborate, perfect revenge scheme, and it would be some epic shit. So when I found out that he didn't want to come over because he wanted to smash this other chick, I was like, oh, okay, you want to play like that? So what I did was I called up his brother, his younger brother, who happened to be an Aquarius as well. And I knew that his brother would be down because his brother used to look at me. You know how sometimes you could tell that a dude, would be with it, the way he looked at you and stuff. So I invited him over. We watched a couple of movies or whatever like that. Next thing you know, I'm like, I think I asked, I was like, can you give me a massage or something? And the next thing you know, that's all she wrote. He wasn't too bad either in bed. And I knew when I did that, I knew going into it, okay, this was my way of breaking up with Rodney. And I was going to do it in the worst way. Cause when I end things, I end things. And, where there's no chance of reconciliation. Cause that's just how I do things. But especially back in the day. But anyway, and me and my dumb self, I'm telling his younger brother, I'm like, don't tell Rodney, okay? And of course I knew he was going to tell Rodney. So I get a call. It was either that same night or the next morning, and it's Rodney. And he's mad as shit. And he says the classic thing. He's like, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. He was like, I should have never trusted your ass, blah, 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 blah. And I remember it getting back to his mother and his sister. Now, that's when I felt the shame. When they found out, because I was in their good graces. They really liked me. I had ate dinner over there and stuff like that. They thought I was the sweetest thing. But then when they found out what I did, they no longer looked at me in that light. And that was the part that really made me kind of shameful. But anyway, paybacks are a bitch. So that's my Aquarius story. Let me know what you think in the comments. You could judge me if you want, but I keep it real. And, it's basically in my chart, like I said, to be the type of person where, I was very free with my sexuality. The irony is now at this point in my life, I'm sexless. I haven't had sex in over 2 years, but it's all good because I'm not like desperate for none. I mean, it would be nice, but I definitely had my share back in the day. So I guess the universe is doing a little balancing out thing with my Venus and Libra. Like, okay, now it's time for that balance. You had all this fun back in the day. Now you time to just mellow out or whatever like that. But I'm at that age where I could go another probably 5 years without having sex because I don't go out. I don't be, just dating all these guys and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm at that age where it could go either way. I could force myself to start going out and, so I could get some action, or I could continue to do what I'm doing and just be all about my work and continue to be abstinent. So, but again, I'm just telling this story to break up the monotony. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, and I'll be back with more videos. If you would like a reading, you could go to my website at rabina.com. Peace and many blessings.